Hello students. This video does not discuss anything about the basics and the theory part of the taxial test. It has already been discussed in the previous video lecture. So in this lecture, we are going to discuss only about some important topics on the taxial test and the seasonal parameters of the soil. Basically, you will not understand this if you have not gone through the previous video in details. So I recommend the previous video to be watched first, then only we can move through this video. Now, this video will deals with some important, some special discussions, some interesting discussions on the taxial test. First discussions we will be having on the types of the soil. Basically, we have told you that the taxial tests are mainly three types: CU, CD, and EU. So this on this three type of taxial test, all the soil profile, all the soil samples can be used for this taxial test. That means we can use sand, we can use clay, we can use sandy clay, silty clay, etc. Basically, we can use any of the soil samples for the taxial test. But whenever we are having the soil sample, we are doing the test of CU, CD, and EU. Will the soil sample be saturated or partially saturated or dry soil sample? It has not been discussed. Basically, if you are if we can understand the CU and CD test, CU and CD test deals with the consolidation test. That means it is consolidated drained or the consolidated undrained. That means on the first stage of the test, the consolidation is going to occur. We know that the first assumptions for the consolidation is to be occurred is that the soil must be saturated. The soil must be fully saturated. So it is quite clear, I think, that for CU and CD test, the soil profile, the soil sample which you are going to use should be quite saturated, which should be fully saturated. But in terms of EU test, that means the unconsolidated undrained test, the soil can be saturated, cannot be saturated. It depends on the site profile, it depends on the site conditions, it depends on the laboratory conditions. So for EU test, the soil can be uh, fully saturated or the soil can be partially saturated. So basically, whatever the test results we have given in the case of the EU test, we are going to discuss it first. So first of all, the EU test results for the fully saturated soil is this. This has been discussed in the previous video lecture. That means whatever the results we have discussed for the EU test in the last video, this is for the fully saturated soil. Clear? If we are going to use the partially saturated soil, then it will be something else. This figure will be the test result for the EU test in the partially saturated soil. So here we can easily say that if S is less than 100%, that means the saturation, if it is less than 100%, it is not going to provide you the value of phi is equals to 0. For EU test in fully saturated soil, we have told you that the phi should be equals to 0. We are going to have some C value. But if the saturation level is less than 100%, then we can say that the phi should not be equals to 0. The phi will not be given as 0 according to the Mohr-Circles diagram. So if we can plot tau versus sigma for saturation level less than 100%, then it will be having some curved diagram like this. We have always assumed that the failure envelope should be always straight line. But in this case, in the case of EU test for partially saturated soil, it will not be the straight line, it will be a curved line. So, two things we must need to remember. The number one, for EU test in partially saturated soil, the curve should not be linear. The failure envelope should not be linear. Number two, the failure envelope should not be having a phi value is equals to 0. There should be some phi value. So we can say these two conditions, these two discussions are very important related to the EU test for partially saturated soil. Now we can say that EU test is applicable for fully saturated soil and partially saturated soil. Now, in the case of EU test, if we apply the fully saturated soil, there should not be consolidation, even then also. Why? Because the drainage valve is not open. If the drainage valve is not open, then the water cannot get removed. That's why no consolidation will occur. So even in the case of fully saturation, the EU test can apply as an unconsolidated test as the drainage valves are not open. So I think this particular topic is clear to you. That is the UU test results in partially saturated soil. For any other test, that is CU test, CD test, for any other tactual test, we need to have a fully saturated soil sample. Okay, the next important topic, the next important discussions will be on the PQ plot. PQ plot, what is P, what is Q, what are the plots are coming to it. But before coming to the PQ plot, we must see this diagram. This diagram is well known to you. This is this is one more circle, this is one more failure envelope. So this particular figure is quite known to you as we have all discussed this in our previous lectures or PDFs. Now, if we can see this figure, we also must know this equation also. The equation being given here at the bottom. So this equation should be always known to you also. Why? Because this equation was derived when we were deriving the equation between sigma 1 and sigma 3. That is, sigma 1 is equals to sigma 3 into n5 plus 2c into root over of n5. When we have derived this equation, this obliquity equation, then this bottom equation has came into our figure. Okay, so first of all, so for deriving this equation, we must refer to this figure. First of all, in this figure, ABD, the sine phi value should be equals to BD by AD. Sine phi value should be equals to BD by AD. In this case, BD is the radius of the Mohr circle. So this is sigma 1 minus sigma 3 by 2. So this is easily determined. So we can say BD is equals to the radius of the Mohr circle. So this is sigma 1 minus sigma 3 by 2. Now AD can be divided into two parts, AO and OD. OD should be equals to sigma 1 plus sigma 3 by 2. That is the distance between the origin and the center of the Mohr circle. Now coming to this AO part, this AO should be equals to the C into cot phi. If we follow this triangle, if we follow this particular triangle, then from this triangle we can say the AO should be equals to C into cot phi. Now in the form of sine phi, which is equals to BD by AD, if we are going to replace all these values, then we are going to get this kind of equations. Is that clear? So in this case, we can derive this equation quite easily. Okay. Now in this equation, sigma 1 plus sigma 3 by 2, this is termed as P, and sigma 1 minus sigma 3 by 2, this is termed as Q. So we can say the P is sigma 1 by plus sigma 3 by 2, Q is sigma 1 minus sigma 3 by 2. So from this equation we can say that P and Q are having the linear relationship. So we can say the P and Q can be plotted in a diagram like this, where P is in the x-axis, that is sigma 1 plus sigma 3 by 2, and Q is on the y-axis, which is sigma 1 minus sigma 3 by 2. So we can find a plot like this. Clear? Now we are going to have three soil samples. So for these three soil samples, sigma 1, sigma 3 values are going to be different. So for each of these samples, P value and Q values are going to be different. So we are going to get in total 3 numbers of P value and 3 number of Q values. So we can plot 3 points of PQ, and we can find a plot like this. As this is a linear equation, so it will be a straight line. So as it is a straight line, it will be having some gradient phi double dash. It is having a gradient of phi double dash. Now phi double dash can be found out from this expression also. This is simpler equation of y equals to x plus b, so you can find out the gradient from here also. So if the gradient is phi double dash, this is not the phi value in exact. We have told you that the shear strength parameters in C and phi in this case this phi double dash value are not the actual phi value. So from this phi double dash value, we can find out the phi value by some simple expressions, which is this. Phi double dash value is equals to tan inverse of sine phi. So phi double dash value is known as, we're going to have three separate p and q values. So we can draw this diagram. So if the diagram is plotted, then we can find out the phi double dash value. So if the phi double dash value is being given, is being found out, then we can find out the phi value also from this expression, from this particular expression. Clear? So phi value is now known. Now the intercept in the y-axis is c double dash. This is also not the value of the equation. So from c double dash value we can find out the c value again. So c double dash, it is known. So from this c double dash value we can find out the value of c, as this phi value is known from this equation. So we can say both c value and phi value, they can be determined from this p and q plot even without plotting the Mohr circles. This is the significance of plotting the pq. That means we can find out the c and phi value. That means we can find out the CS strength parameters value just by plotting the pq. That means in this case we don't need to plot the Mohr circles. We actually are having mainly two procedures to find out this c and phi. Number one is to draw the Mohr circles and draw a common tangent to all the Mohr circles, and from the common tangent, that is the Mohr circles Fourier envelope, we can find out the c and phi value. The another procedure is to plot the pq. That means p on the x-axis, q on the y-axis. So from this plot also we can find out the value of c and phi by these two expressions. So I think the significance of this pq plot is well known to us right now. Now we are moving into our next important topic, which is very important, that is the Skempton water pressure coefficient. Now this Skempton has established this water pressure coefficient in 1954. Basically, before coming into this, we must recapitulate something. The excess water pressure, what is excess water pressure? We all know. For drain test, the excess water pressure is going to be 0. For undrained test, the excess water pressure is going to be developed. It has already been discussed, it has been told several times in the last video. So you can say for the drain test, the excess water pressure is always equals to 0. So we can find out the effective stress quite easily. But for the undrained test, we cannot find out the effective stress quite easily. That's why we are going to plot the total stress when we are going to plot the Mohr cycles. Clear? Now, we have already told you that the water pressure, the excess water pressure can be determined in the laboratory by some simple apparatus. So the apparatus in the laboratory can find out the excess water pressure. And if the excess water pressure is known, then also we can find out the hydrostatic water pressure, so we can find out the total water pressure itself. So we can find out the effective stress also. So in the lab, we can find out the change in excess water pressure, not the total amount of excess water pressure. In the lab, we can find out the change in excess water pressure. But we have already discussed that in the field, it is very difficult to determine the excess water pressure. So we are having some apparatus in our lab to find out the change in excess water pressure, but we don't have any arrangement in the field to find out the excess water pressure. So if we are going to predict the excess water pressure generation in the site, then we must need a help of this Skempton water pressure coefficients. There. So these Skempton's water pressure coefficients can be found out in the lab by applying those apparatus which can measure the change in excess water pressure, and it can be applied in the site by this Skempton's water pressure coefficients. So we can predict the change in excess water pressure or change in water pressure in the site by the Skempton's water pressure coefficients. And also the water pressure coefficient is determined in the lab, which is already been told. Okay, now how this water pressure is going to be generated in this particular test. So in this case, I think it is clear that this Kempton water pressure coefficient is not valid for the drain test, because for the drain test the excess water pressure is going to be zero. We are going to get the effective stress in the Mohr cycles. So we are not going to determine the Kempton's water pressure coefficient. It is not valid for the drain test. So it is only valid for the undrained test. So the undrained tests are the EU test and CU test. So first of all, in the EU and CU test, how the excess water pressure is going to be generated. First, let us discuss that. Now, there are two stages in any type of triaxial test. Number one is the consolidation stage. Number two is the searing stage, at which we are going to give some deviator stress. So, in the first stage, when we are going to give some consolidation stress, that means we are going to give some self pressure or confining stress. Then also, if the drainage valve is closed, we're going to give some stresses, some self pressures, so it will be leading to generate the excess water pressure then. That excess water pressure generation is known as del U1. This excess water pressure generation is known as del U1. So del U1 is a change in water pressure due to change in self pressure. This is very important. So this is only applicable for the first stage of the test. So for the first stage, whenever we are going to change the cell pressure, that means when we are going to apply a cell pressure, there will be some change in the excess water pressure. There will be some generation of the excess water pressure, which is equals to del U1. Del U2, this is the change in excess water pressure in stage 2. That means del U2 is a change in water pressure due to the change in deviator stress. So del U1 is for the first stage, del U2 is a change for the second stage. Similarly, del U2, that means the change in water pressure. That means also whenever we are going to apply a deviator stress, obviously the drainage valve is not open. This is closed for any undrained test. The drainage valves are closed in the second stage. So we can say there will be some generation of the excess water pressure, which is equals to del U2. So we can say the total excess water pressure which are going to be generated, del U is equals to del U1 plus del U2. So del U1 plus del U2. So this is very important what Kempton has told. Okay, so first of all, coming to the del U1 part. Del U1 is equals to B into delta of sigma 3. That means delta of sigma 3 means change in sigma 3, change in cell pressure. I have already told you that the del sigma 1 is only dependent on the change in cell pressure. So we can say delta U1 is having a relation with the delta sigma 3 as like this. Delta U1 is equals to B into delta sigma 3, where B is one of the Kempton pore pressure coefficient. Another coefficient is A. So to find out the del U2, so del U2 is being given here. Del U2 is A into B into del sigma 1 minus del sigma 3. That means the change in deviator stress. Del sigma 1 minus del sigma 3 is the deviator stress. B and A, they are the Kempton pore pressure coefficients. So B can be found out from this first formula, the del U1 is equals to B into del sigma 3, and A can be found out by this formula. So we can say the Kempton pore pressure coefficients can be found out by these two formulas, A and B. And if we just sum it up, that means delta U is equals to delta U1 plus delta U2. So we can find out this particular expressions. So we can find out this particular expressions. This is very important. Delta U is equals to B into delta sigma 3 plus A into the change in deviator stress. The change in deviator stress. Now, I have told you that the excess water pressure is going to be generated in the first stage. Now, coming to the first stage first. Listen very carefully. The excess water pressure is going to be generated in the first stage only if the drainage valves are closed. Now, there is one contradictory part. I have already told you that this Kempton pore pressure coefficient is valid for CU as well as EU. That means any of the undrained test. Now, we can say that for CU test, the consolidation is going to occur. That means on the first stage, the drainage valve should be kept open. So if the drainage valve is kept open, then how the excess water pressure, that is delta U1, is getting generated in the first stage? We will come into that, but before coming into the CU test, we must discuss the significance of B in the EU test. So basically, in the EU test, we can find out the value of B like this. So suppose cell where the soil is being provided and a cell pressure have been applied through, means surrounding the soil. So there is one opening which can provide the pore pressure. That means by this opening the water can get removed. Clear? That means if the drainage valves are closed, then the water cannot get removed. If the drainage valves are opened, then the water can get removed. So for the EU test, for the first stage, the drainage valve should be kept closed. That means unconsolidated, undrained. Unconsolidated means the drainage valve should be kept closed. So when the drainage valve is kept closed, then if you are going to apply some cell pressure, if you are going to apply some sigma 3, then due to that application of sigma 3, there will be some excess water pressure which is generated. Now if B is equals to 1, that means we can signify that the soil is fully saturated. If the soil is fully saturated, then B should be equals to 1. B equals to 1 means the change in excess water pressure should be equals to the change in cell pressure. That means suppose we have applied a cell pressure of 0.5 kg per centimeter square in our EU test. Now we are having an apparatus which can measure the excess water pressure. Suppose the measurement in the excess water pressure apparatus is also showing that the excess water pressure which is generated is 0.5 kg per centimeter square. That means the excess water pressure is equal to the change in the cell pressure. So in that case, we can say that B equals to 1. This is only possible when the soil sample is exactly saturated. Why we are coming to it? Suppose the B is equals to 0. That means no excess water pressure is getting generated if we are going to change the cell pressure. So this will be a completely dry soil. Now coming to the dry soil part. What I have told that if you are going to apply a stress, some part of this stress at that point of time will be taken by the pore water. This is known as excess water pressure. Now suppose this is a dry soil. Now the dry soil is having all the air and the soil solid. The air is very compressible. The air is very compressible. So whenever we are going to apply a load, whenever we are going to apply a stress, the air cannot take any load. So the total load will be taken by the soil solid. So there is no pore water pressure, there is no excess water pressure. So del U1 should be equal to 0. There will be no excess water pressure getting generated as there is no water in a dry soil. If we are going to have a partial saturated soil. So in a partial soil, the stress will be distributed in the sample. Now the sample is going to have some pores which are going to be filled up by water and some pores which are only getting filled up by air, and there are soil solid particles. They have told you that the first stress, the first load will be taken by the water molecules. Now what will happen to those pores which are not having any water? So at that point of time, as there is air in it, that cannot take the amount of air, cannot take any amount of load. So for those kind of pores, the soil solid particles will be taking some amount of load. So for partially saturated soil, some pore water pressure will get generated, as well as the effective stress. That means the stress which is getting carried out by the soil solid particles will get generated. So the total change in cell pressure will be divided into two parts. One is to be taken by the soil solid particles, another one is to be taken by the water molecules. So B should be within the range of 0 to 1. If it is a fully saturated soil, so all the pores are getting filled up by the water molecules. So if we are going to provide some load, some stress, then all the pores are having water. So the water at first, as it is incompressible in nature, it will take the whole amount of load. So the excess water pressure will get generated, which is equal to the change in cell pressure. So we can say B equals to 1 as del U1 is equals to del sigma 3. So this is, I think, very clear to you. So for a EVU test, if B is coming as 1, then we can say it is a fully saturated soil. If B is coming from 0 to 1, it is a partially saturated soil. And I have told you that for EU test, the soil can be partially saturated, the soil can be fully saturated. So first of all, we have to find out the value of B, whether this is 1 or whether this is 0 to 1. This is our first step. That means this B value, that means the one of the Skempton's pore pressure coefficient B only depends on the saturation of the soil. If the soil is fully saturated, B should be equals to 1. If the soil is dry soil, then B should be equals to 0. If it is partially saturated, then the B value should be equals to within the range of 0 to 1. Now coming to the CU test. I have told you that it is bit of contradictory in the case of consolidated undrained test. This is not at all contradictory, because if we can just see the steps of CU, the first step is the saturation stage. The first stage is not the consolidation stage. Consolidation stage is obviously the first stage, but still the consolidation is only possible if the saturation is completed. The consolidation is only possible if the saturation is completed. That means suppose a soil sample is going to be saturated, is in submerged in water for suppose 3 to 4 hours. Now we are going to apply it in a cell. That means in this cell we are going to apply the soil in a rubber membrane, and we are going to apply a cell pressure. We are going to apply a cell pressure. Suppose the cell pressure which is going to be applied is 0.1, which is less than our desired cell pressure. So suppose we are going to apply a minimum cell pressure which is 0.1 kg per centimeter square. By keeping the drainage valve closed, Now suppose we have applied 0.1 kg per centimeter square cell pressure load. Now this will lead to change in the excess water pressure as drainage valves are closed. So if the change in excess water pressure is coming as 0.1 kg per centimeter square, then we can say the soil is fully saturated. Then only we can go for the consolidation stage. Otherwise we cannot go to the consolidation stage. I think it is clear. So first step, before consolidation even, the first step is to have the soil as saturated. That means you have to make the V value is equals to 1. That means the excess water pressure should be equals to same as the change in the cell pressure. So first of all, we have to assure that the change in excess water pressure is equals to the change in the cell pressure for being saturated. So if it is saturated, then we are going to give the cell pressure as you desired. Suppose 0.5 kg per centimeter square or 1 kg per centimeter square or 1.5 kg per centimeter square. Then the drainage valves are open. If the drainage valves are open, then the consolidation will start. As the soil sample is fully consolidated, then the consolidation will occur. But before consolidation, whenever we are going to check for the B value, we are always going to keep the drainage valve as closed. Is that clear? I think it is clear. Now whenever the consolidation is going to occur, before the drainage valve is going to be open, if you are going to apply a 0.5 kg per centimeter square of load or 1 kg per centimeter square of load, that means the desired cell pressure, then also there will be some generation of the excess water pressure. Here, obviously the drainage valves are closed. We have applied a cell pressure, we have applied our desired cell pressure, then it is going to generate some excess water pressure. Now whenever we are going to open the drainage valves, the excess water pressure is suddenly going to be dissipated with time. So this dissipation can need some 24 hours of time. That's why we have told you in the previous lecture that the first stage of the triaxial test requires at least 24 hours of time. So normally it is being taken that for 24 hours of time the consolidation is going to be finished. How can we know that the consolidation is going to be finished? The consolidation is done. The most authentic way to say that the consolidation is done or completed is to have this del U1 value is equals to 0. That means, suppose again, before the drainage valve kept open, we have applied a cell pressure of our desired value, that means 0.5 kg per centimeter square suppose. So the cell pressure has been applied. So some amount of excess water pressure has generated there. Now I have kept my drainage valve as open. So the excess water pressure will dissipate with time. Now when that excess water pressure is equals to zero, that means the change in excess water pressure will be equals to zero. That means you can say the consolidation is done when the excess water pressure which has been generated has come to zero. That means all the excess water pressure has dissipated. Only then we can find out that only then we can conclude that the consolidation was done. Then we can go for the next stage. So on the next stage, we have to find out the value of A. So this A completely depends on the type of the soil. We have told you that the B depends on the saturation of the soil, but A only depends on the type of the soil. So the A should be equal to the change in excess water pressure for the change in the deviator stress. So if we can see this figure, so we can say the del U2 is equals to A into B into the change in the deviator stress. Now during the second stage, the change in sigma 3, that is the change in cell pressure, is going to be 0. That means we are not going to change our cell pressure during the second stage. So there will be only del sigma 1, which is the deviator stress. So we can say del U2, that is the excess water pressure generated in the second stage, should be equals to A into B into the deviator stress. A into B into the deviator stress. So B is known. A, we have to find it out by simply this particular equation. In this case, we can find out del U2 by the simple apparatus there. We can find out the deviator stress. The B is known, so you can find out the value of A. So this A depends on the type of the soil. For a very loose fine-grained soil, the A should be within the range of 2 to 3. For a stiff cohesionless soil, for a stiff cohesive soil, A should be within the range of 0.7 to 1. Just one thing we need to know, that for over-consolidated soil, A can be negative also, which is known as a negative water pressure. We will discuss it in our next video, where we are going to discuss about the difference between the normally consolidated soil and the over-consolidated soil. So for over-consolidated soil, just for right now, we must remember that for over-consolidated soil, A value can be negative. So I think you are going to have a clear indications, clear understand of what the A and B coefficients are, how can you determine the A and B coefficients, and what are the parameters on which this A and B depends. So this B depends only on the saturation of the soil, A depends only on the type of the soil. So this is the last topic which we are going to discuss in this video lecture. Now here we are saying that one fluid envelope is passing through the Mohr circles, which actually intersect in the Mohr circle at more than 1 point. So that means this is a fluid envelope, the 2 number of Mohr circles are there, but fluid envelope in this particular case is not a common tangent to these Mohr circles. Now the question is, does this picture really exist? The answer is no. The answer is no. This picture doesn't exist. This type of fluid envelope does not exist. Why? Because what does fluid envelope means? It means that at this fluid envelope, that means when the fluid envelope will touch the Mohr circle, that means at this particular points, at these 3 or 4 points, it will be having the failure shear stress. That means soil cannot take the shear stress which is more than this. So these particular points, these points which are having the shear stress which is greater than the failure stress, how they can be generated? So there cannot be any stress, which are greater than the failure shear stress. So failure shear stress will only occur on the failure envelope. So there will be no such soil which will be having these stresses, these stress zones. So this figure in reality, in practicality, in theoretically, they are not possible. So the fluid envelope will only pass through the common tangent. It will be only the common tangent to 1 or 2 Mohr circles or 2 or 3 Mohr circles. This type of figure does not exist. So at the end of our lecture, if you have any doubt, if you are having any doubt, feel free to ask. Thank you.